Is this a return to the classic Western genre, and does this movie have Oscar potential? We're going to talk about it. What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. On Christmas, news of the world hits theaters. This movie has been talked about for quite a while. From director Paul Greengrass reuniting once again with Tom Hanks, I was pretty excited for this film. We're going to talk about it. I need you in the comments down below. Are you excited for this? Are you a fan of the Western genre? What is your favorite Western of all time? Let's get into it. So, 5 years after the end of the Civil War, Captain Jefferson Kyle Kidd crosses paths with a 10-year-old girl taken by the Kiowa people. Forced to return to her aunt and uncle, Kidd agrees to escort the child across the harsh and unforgiving plains of Texas. However, the long journey soon turns into a fight for survival as the traveling companions encounter danger at every turn, both human and natural. It's so funny, I watched a virtual premiere this week for The Midnight Sky. That review is coming. And then I see News of the World, and both movies are dealing with somewhat similar elements. You have this girl who just doesn't say much, and it's up to, in this case, Tom Hanks' character to take her to where she belongs, even though along the way, he begins to learn things that maybe he was unaware of in the first place. And it is somewhat of a classic Western tale. This film pulls from films that we have seen over the last couple of years. From Christian Bale's Hostels, it has that slower pacing, more of a grand adventure story, but one that I feel like not everyone's going to have the same kind of engagement with, to a True Grit, obviously with the little girl, but also this journey that they go on, learning things about each other, but more so learning things about yourself. Tom Hanks, he does what he always does. He's compelling. You believe the relationship that he develops with this young girl, but you also believe that he's slowly growing a bit more unsure of himself. And at one point in the movie, they say something that really resonated with me. You know, going about and reading the news, which is what Hank's character does in this movie. It's great, and he's constantly getting these rousing responses from the crowds that gather to see him, and that's what he's doing here, folks. He's reading the news from a newspaper just in somewhat of an entertaining way. I mean, there were points I'm watching him up there doing this, and it felt like a comedian giving a performance, and everyone's cheering and clapping. But the line that stuck with me is, sometimes that can get a bit lonely. And you see, you know, at first, this is kind of like a mission. It's something that I feel obligated to do because I don't want this girl to end up in the wrong hands. But as we progress, obviously, there's going to be a bit of a bond being formed between both of them. The girl begins to open up as well, because at first, we don't even necessarily know where she is from or what her purpose was here in the first place. And it's that bond, it's that relationship that carries us through this entire film. And you read in the summary, well, yes, there are both human and natural dangers along the way. I think both, in terms of tension, was filmed exquisitely. The human danger, the shootout scene is what I'm going to call it, even though there was much more to it than that, was really entertaining. And that, in my opinion, is the best part of the movie. Now, there's another scene where we encounter somewhat of a natural barrier between where they're going and where they are. And that was great as well. And you can really feel the emotion in that scene. And it was like sucking the air out of the room that I was in. I was feeling uncomfortable, unable to breathe, almost like our characters. And it was great. Now, the movie isn't perfect, right? I was hoping this would be kind of a Best Picture nominee, maybe slip its way in, be this good, because we saw Captain Phillips. I mean, that combination between Greengrass and Hanks is a really good combo. Less action-packed. It's actually probably the least action-packed movie we've seen from Paul Greengrass, maybe ever. And the pacing, just like a movie like Hostels, is one that is going to really push people away. I see a lot of people being bored by this film. And honestly, I understand, because there were moments that really took me out of it. And I said, why does this come across as just as important as this other moment that we should have been focusing on, yet for some reason we're here for 5 minutes? Or it's a slow trudge until the next scene. Now, the next scene that we get to is great. We still have to go through that slow trudge. So because of that, maybe I didn't feel as into it as I wanted to at times, and it does somewhat take you out of it. But once you reach those grand, beautiful Western-esque moments, they're awesome. There were also a couple moments where we implemented CGI that I don't think worked all that well. It just didn't look great. And I do think predictability is a bit of an issue here. I know it's more about the journey, and the journey is solid, but it is a bit of a negative for me. And just the idea behind this film, traveling to tell the news, is not something that you feel like would resonate a lot with you, but we're back at a time where this was so important, maybe more important than people even realized, and especially today with so many different ways to take in your news, and it feels so easy to us now. It was very difficult for people back then. So at the end of the day, I think News of the World is definitely worth a watch if you're a fan of the genre. If you're not a big Western fan, I don't know if I would recommend it. But overall, predictability aside, the film features a heartfelt performance from Hanks and an engaging return to the classic, definitely the more classic Western genre. If you guys enjoyed this review, before I give you my score, if you want to drop a thumbs up button if you're a fan of the genre, or if you're planning on seeing this in theaters on December 25th, let me know. We want a 70%, a 7 out of 10 for News of the World. Not the Oscar caliber movie that maybe I expected, still a good film, and a lot of restraint shown from Greengrass this time around. Less of the shaky cam, close-up shots, something different. Get a lot of grand, beautiful shots of the location here. I think from a production design perspective, maybe cinematography, something like that, that could be nominated for an Oscar. The score, maybe a bit disappointing, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad for sure. So thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate it big time. Stay tuned. More reviews today. Songbird. I'm thinking about it. We'll see. All right, see you.